Warning, in this segment of Messy Kitchen, you may hear some foul language or alcohol contents in this. Again, I'm stating that I am not a professional cook and I started this segment for my children. Thank you for watching and have a great day. So as you know, when we're in this kitchen, we do like to drink. I had to say it. We have our best ideas that when we're drinking, not everybody's going to agree, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And again, if I tend to hiccup and not able to say my words correctly, which is quite often, it's okay. That's life. We're all normal. Nobody's perfect, right? Isn't? What? What's the right word for that? It doesn't matter anyway.
No.
We haven't even got the chicken out. Is this the longest fried chicken thing you've ever seen in your life? Probably will be, but we'll see by the end of this endeavor. So now I have my chicken in the refrigerator. That really needs to be cleaned because I had pre-cut my potatoes already. A lot of people like to peel their potatoes and they like to take off the skin. But my grandma taught me that that's where your best nutrition is. So I just don't. I don't know if it's because the best nutrition or it's just the easiest way to do it. I don't really give a shit. That's the way we do it in this household. All right. Yep. So I've got my chicken here. It shouldn't be frozen already. I have it standing out, but we need to get it at room temperature. Very important. Your chicken needs to be at room temperature and dried off. Just telling you that right now. I don't know why, but it works. Okay, and Paige is going, why? Give me more explanation, please. Because if it is too cold and you put it in your grease, it's not going to cook all the way in. So if you have it at room temperature and it is dry, your eggs and your flour and the bases you have will stick to it better and it will crisp up in the fashion that you want. Alright, and this recipe is a very simple recipe anyway. Alright, so let's get back to the eggs because this is your first stop. So we have the eggs. So I'm thinking about there's going to be about 3 eggs. So you have to have something that's going to hold them in. Let me go just with a small bowl. That'll work. Now, here's the other test. Now, it passed the floating test. Let's make sure it passed everything else. So we're going to break it open. Perfecto. Crack. Perfect. And again, the third egg. Perfect.
You're just going to go ahead and break them up. Now, typically, beforehand, I will let my chicken basically marinate for a couple hours in 8 milk, but we're not doing it this way.
We're doing something totally different that I haven't done before. We're going more simplified and more old school. So you have your eggs whisked up and you're ready, and you put it to the side. So the next thing you want to think about is your batter. Some people use breadcrumbs. I'm not too fond of because they burn too much before you're ready. Alright. Some people like to do the double batter, which I find that sometimes the crust doesn't get cooked all the way and then it's gooey. So we are just going to go with the old school style. Alright. Your basicness on this is going to be, your main part is going to be your flour. Now, do you want me to give you measurements? This, I've been doing it so long, I just kind of throw things together.
Well, how about those viewers that maybe don't, this is their first time with doing fried chicken?
You know what? Here's a good idea. Why don't we test this theory out? Let's see how much I did put in there. Measuring cup. I'm wrong. So I have about a half a cup. A little over half a cup. So that's what I have. But now I'm going to use some self-rising flour. It looks about. So that is, well, so it looks like it's about 1/3 of a cup of the self-rising flour.
And the common person would know this?
A rising flour where you find the regular flour. It's just right beside it, self-rising. As you will also find cornstarch. Cornstarch, which is very common in baking, right here. So put about a spoonful, and that's probably what ends up about another, well, that's about another 1/3 of a cup. We can fix this while we're going. Now the next step is about 1 teaspoon of salt. Now this could vary. Actually, I think I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of salt because I like things more on the salty side. But then we have a family that likes things on the pepper side. mostly, aka Douglas. So because of that, I usually typically, so we put 2, I'm going to put 3. A lot of people are going, ay, 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 that's too peppery. Well, then don't put that much pepper in it. You do what your family likes, alright. It doesn't matter, ay, 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 you do what you want. You like pepper, you don't like pepper, it don't matter. We like 3, we like 2, or maybe have 1. Who the fuck cares anyway, right? So, then in our family also, well, me, I like onions. So,
We do the onion powder.
we're gonna do the onion powder, so there's gonna be a lot of editing in this.
Oh yeah.
Ching ching. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some onion powder in here. And again, it is, because Paige is gonna ask, gonna be 1 teaspoon. And then I'm gonna actually add some garlic, which is really hard to find in this house because I keep on not putting it in the right place. And then I'm not like, I have them in these baggies, which we have from Winco, and I'm hoping I'm in it. So I'm thinking that, so I don't measure it. Yeah, that looks about a teaspoon, so I'm just gonna push it in there.
So it's garlic powder, not actual
No, it's garlic powder.
Okay.
You wouldn't put actual garlic in something like this. You'd only do it if you're doing the gravy anyway, which we'll get to that in a little bit. So then, for the extra cilantro kick that everybody likes to have in here, I will put a splash, and I'm not measuring this, a splash of cayenne pepper.
Okay.
Because I am not the hot person in the house.
Okay.
But if you put just a little dab, like so.
So
well,
just a
maybe I'll
nice skim over the
nice
top.
little skim on the top. And we're just going to kind of stir this up a little bit. Is now, before I serve the chicken, I'm going to put my potatoes, which I have pre-cut, in here. And I am going to put it on my back burner. And I'm
Now,
actually going to start it low.
When you say pre-cut, what do you mean by pre-cut? How do
I
you
have
cut
already cut up my potato per person. So we have 4 people that I'm feeding, but we all like potatoes and extras, so I cut 1 potato per person. But I understand we like a little extra. We're a big family. So I did about 6 potatoes that I pre-cut and I put it in here to start it off. We like food, it's so good. I do not want my potatoes done before my chicken. If you want everything ready at the same time, you have to know the steps that you need. So I know that the step that I need is to put my potatoes on low to start it out, to get it ready. And now, my next step is going to be, when am I allowed to put my chicken in and ask me? I did preheat my oven at 275, because after I'm done frying my chicken, I'm actually going to stick it in the oven to finish cooking.
Oh, okay, so
Because I don't cook it all on the stove top, because I need the chicken out of the pan to make my gravy. Of course she has a drink in her hand. Anyway, so now I gotta figure out what pan I'm gonna use.
now how do you figure that out?
What you think would be a simple task.
So I'm gonna go to my trusty pan so I can clean it. Where's my pan? Oh, it's in the dishwasher. Sidetrack! My dishwasher. Andy's favorite pan because we always have this in the world.
By the way, I'll show you how to make homemade dishwashing soap if you ever want a home. Now, a lot of people go, it depends on what oil you use. I would not suggest using olive oil to deep fry. Bad idea. You can do lard. It's very good, but it's expensive and it's more fattening. So people try to tend away from lard as much. Now, if you do Crisco, Crisco's okay. It's kind of an offset, step below the large vicinity. Don't do the Crisco butter. That is not what this is about. You don't want to do this in butter, because then it's going to flame up and you're going to have a fire. Bad idea. I suggest doing now either peanut oil. A lot of people are allergic to peanut oil and it's really expensive. But if you want to do what you need to do on your budget, I suggest going with canola oil. Canola. Just the basic, great value canola oil. Now here's another point of view. Some people like to drown it in oil, and some people do not like to drown it in oil. But I like to drown it in oil because then it's nice and crisp. And you can save your oil, by the way.
Now,
because
do
I
you,
have an oil.
holy sh! Do you know what? Oh my God in heaven. Do you know like a low fat option for those maybe that?
Air fryer.
And what's
If you, air fryer is just a conventional way that people have. There is no actual oil that is going to be non-fattening for you to use, unless you use an air fryer.
an air fryer?
She's videotaping while I'm doing things.
The cats were watching.
You're supposed to have your oil at 350. But I notice if I have it too high, it's going to burn the crap out of it. If I have too low, then it's going to be drained with oil. So I'm going to do a happy medium. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit here and let this heat up. We're just going to let it heat up.
Oops, sorry.
Now, what a lot of people don't understand is every oven is different. So what your oven does isn't typical of what somebody else's oven does, because it depends on the brand. It depends on how you put it in the first place.
Elevation.
So in elevation, that's very true too, Doug. So elevation. So the best thing for you is to get a thermometer for this. Test it like my grandma did a while ago. So we are going to take a really quick break while this is heating up, and then we're going to get going in just a minute. And again, cheers to the lucky person. If you listen, and I don't know if you can hear, the oil is starting to kind of snap. There are air bubbles and probably some water bubbles because I just washed it, so it's snapping up, which makes me think it's about ready.
No.
But if you, I'm going to take a little bit of flour.
Okay.
I'm going to sprinkle it in there. Now, it didn't do the, it's hot, but it's not hot enough because it should have snapped and crackled a little bit more. So therefore, it's not hot enough. So that's fine, because we got plenty of things that we can do right now. So we got about 5 pieces of chicken. Now, they are still pretty cold, but it's going to be fine because we are going to put them in the oven. That's why the oven is preheated right now.
To what is that again? 275?
275. So the whole thing is they're kind of wet still, so I want to make sure that you kind of take off some of the moisture. So if you have a towel or something, you want to just kind of press your chicken a little bit, take some of that moisture off. You don't want all that moisture. And make sure that with your towels, you put them away and you don't use them again. So I'm going to go, we have several things. So I'm just going to get a regular paper bag, okay? I'm going to go ahead and take all your dry ingredients and go ahead and place it in that bag. Oops, I still got some in there. You're just placing it in the bag. It's no big deal. And you don't have to do this if you don't have a bag. It's alright. I'm just doing a little bit different. I'm doing a little bit more old school style anyway. A lot of people will dip everything in the batter and then they'll dip it in the flour and they'll be done with it. I'm going to do it this way. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take your piece of chicken and you're going to take every piece of chicken. You're going to dunk it in your egg mixture and just place it in the bag. Now make sure that when you do this, when you lift it up, you kind of, I don't know, toss it a little bit, make sure that you get some of the egg off of it, and do that with every single piece. A lot of people would like to do a double batter, but like I said, I don't necessarily care for the double batter. It doesn't work out the way I want to, so we're going to try it this way. And 2 eggs might actually be enough. Now, there, and you don't want to reuse these eggs. It's going to be a little while. Make sure, again, you wash your hands because you have the fresh eggs on there and you don't want to get salmonella. Cheers. After you go ahead and do that, you take.
I'm gonna get one more shot. Actually, one more shot. So that's how. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So we are going to go ahead and toss this a little bit. And yes, there's going to be some flour that seeps through, but the whole point of this is so that the flour basis will cover every single piece of chicken correctly the way you need it done. Just my opinion. Now that is ready. This is almost ready. My potatoes are on low heating, so now at this point I'm going to go ahead and crank them up just a little bit to about 7. And we're going to go ahead and do a test on the oil again. Let's see where it's at the moment. See if it's hotter. So let's do a little bit of flour. And now as you see, the reaction is a lot better than it was before, but still it's not where it went to be. I think I want it to heat up a little bit more. So therefore I'm just going to go ahead and crank this up just a little bit. Don't go crazy with it because you don't want it to burn.
Now, how high did you turn it up?
I have it about on a 7 now. And again, every oven is different. Well, since we're still waiting on that, I understand since my potatoes are going, we decided we're going to do corn. Now, I usually go ahead and prepare, and I have canned corn from the season before, but we didn't have a good canning year. So it's going to have to be frozen. Frozen is a lot better than canned, by the way, and it can be just as good, and my freezer is stuffed with things.
Wait.
So I'm just going to go with the generic corn.
Not sorry.
Fresh
canning.
is better.
Oh, okay.
Fresh is better. Fresh is, I mean, if you're growing corn in your garden and that you make it pre-season where it's frozen, that's the best way to do it on this. But if I have a choice right now, I'm not going to do canned because canned has too much artificial flavoring and has too much salt in it. So I'm going to go with the generic corn, which you can get just as cheap as you can canned. Actually, it goes a lot further than what you believe, and you can have a lot more flavoring. And we've got, this is up to you, how much corn, how much you think you want. We've got about 4 people, and I like my veggies. Put a little rubber band over this so it keeps it with flavoring. You don't have to go fancy on it. And this will keep it nice and fresh for the next time you want to do it. You got some butter right here. Let's put a little bit of butter. Oh, who am I kidding? We love butter. We're going to put a lot of butter. I'm just going to put this butter in here. I don't care. Because we like butter. And I got a backup butter anyway. That will be for the gravy. Put a little bit of seasoning on it. If you want more, you'll add more. If you want less, you'll have less. So and usually if you have a cooking time on the frozen vegetables, it takes about 10 minutes in the microwave. I'm just going to get this prepped and ready and put it in there so that we don't have to worry about later. It's going to be set and ready. Now let's check our oil again. And it should be about ready. Yeah, that's really good.
Well, I'm sorry, can you do that again? So this is when you know it's ready.
Yep. Look at how fast it sizzles.
Okay.
See that?
Yep.
You're going to get a nice, good crisp. I know things are supposed to be authentic, but it's pressing times for everybody right now. We use what we use, and this is just
Okay.
So, all right, now this is ready. Now be careful when you go ahead and drop these in. I will drop one in the way I usually drop one in, and then I'll show you how to use one. Actually, I'll show you how to use this. If you are uncertain about dropping things into oil, which I understand because it burns and it doesn't feel good. So we're just going to kind of get a piece of chicken out here. And we are going to plop it in. Look at the way it sizzles. Oh yeah, baby! It's frying. And I'm going to go ahead. So we've got about 5 pieces of chicken that we're going to let it get nice and brown on. And again, I'm used to the heat, I'm used to the oil, but if you're not, use the tongs. Do not use your hands if you are not accustomed to this. Just use a set of tongs and place it in. Like this. Now, we're going to let that go ahead and sit there. After a while, you want to check on it. So it usually takes about 3 to 5 minutes per side on it. It's only been in there a couple of minutes, but you see that nice brown? It's starting to burn, so I'm just going to go ahead and flip this over. Once I flip these over, and it's almost a little too hot, it looks a little brown. This side isn't as quick as that. Alright, now since this is cooking good, I'm going to go ahead and get my cooking pan, which, as you can tell, has years and years and years of cooking on it. It doesn't look pretty, but it does the job.
No,
why I do it in the oven and I don't finish it off is because there is slightly a healthier aspect on it. Because if you throw it in the oven and you let it cook a while, it'll actually absorb and cook off some of that grease. So after frying it and sticking it in the oven, it literally makes little bit healthier. So it works out well. And cheers. That's why we're cooking up. Because what we miss in the frying pan is going to cook off in the oven. Because in the oven, it's going to be in the oven for a good 20 to 30 minutes anyway. And that should cook it all off. So we're just going to let it crisp, get to the brownness that we want, stick it in the oven, and that's going to get us the freedom to go ahead and start with our gravy. That one actually is pretty good. So I'm going to take this out and throw it to the side.
Okay. Now we're just going to continue to let these cook until it's to the point that you like it. That's almost ready. So we'll put that on the side. It's nice and hot. Has a good color to it. Put it too. Put that to the side as well. Now these two are a little questionable. I don't know if they're going to have meat. We're going to let those show up.
But while that's cooking, you're flipping it over. Don't forget you still have your potatoes in there. So I like to do the fork test. Take the fork and you push it into the potato. If it feels hard, it's not falling off your fork, it's not even nearly done.
So essentially, if you have to spear into it like a rock, then it's not done.
So, and my chicken's going, so I'm going to actually pump up my potatoes just a little bit more to give it more. Side, I'm going to shut off the oil at the moment because I'm not ready for the gravy. You're going to take the chicken, and this is going to take 20 to 30 minutes. Hopefully you'll get everything done in time. Who knows? We'll feel it out here in a minute. I'm just going to stick it in the oven. It shouldn't be in there more than 30 minutes. If everything else is not done in 30 minutes, then you can just basically shut off your oven and just let it chill and sit there, and it should be fine. Now, since I've been doing this for a long time, I don't sometimes think about safety. I'm kind of like this freaking idiot that's what she wants to half the time. But you need to get the grease out. But you want to keep the tidbits of the chicken that you just made in this pan. That's what makes a great chicken gravy. So I'm going to take a boil. Like I said, it usually ends up in my chicken grease bucket, but after it cools, because if you put it in there now, it's going to melt. It's going to make a big mess. So don't put hot grease in plastic containers. You need to have a glass container, or you need to have like maybe anything with steel. Don't put it in anything that might attempt to melt, because it's very, 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 very hot. But save your grease. It's so expensive, and you can reuse it. There's no reason to toss it out in the first place.
Very good.
So I'm going to go ahead and take, something, because hopefully I'll catch some tidbits of the chicken without, wasting a lot. And again, I'm using something steel, and I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can get any tidbits out of there. And see, and I have tidbits in there. And you want to save some of your grease. Look at that. See all those chunks? That's what you want for your flavor. So we got all of our chicken tidbits. Now don't even worry about this. What you're going to do with this grease is you're going to set it aside, let it cool off, and you're going to stick it in your chicken grease holder. But don't do it now, because it's going to melt and you're going to have a big mess and you're not even going to know what to do. That's a big faux pas. Okay, why is it a faux pas? I've done it before. Not a good idea. Alright, I'm keeping my grease and the tidbits for flavoring, but I know there's going to be more flavoring that I need. So before I start making the gravy, I'm going to make sure I have everything set out for it. You're going to need flour. You're going to need salt and pepper. And you are going to need butter. So I'm going to turn the gravy up. Probably about 6. I like to use wooden spoons. My grandma used wooden spoons. I like wooden spoons. So that's going to get reheated up just a little bit. You don't want it too hot because it's going to burn the tidbits that you have. So you have about 8 tablespoons here. Alright? So basically, I'm going to use about half of this, which is 4 tablespoons.
That's so much butter. Not so much butter. Well, then it's your gravy. Use less butter. This is my family. We're veggie first, and I'm using half of it, okay?
This is why they like my gravy. So we're going to make sure this gets nice and melted in. So go ahead. Ooh, yeah. Look at that crispness. Look at the way it butters. Look at how the brown is coming up from the tidbits of your chicken. Now, the next step after this, after your butter is nice and melted, is going to be your flour. This is equivalent of your big spoon, is equivalent of your tablespoon. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3. It depends on how many people you have going, because you can make this go for a long way. But I'm going to put probably about 4. And you're going to take this and you are going to stir this up. And make sure your spoon is flat on the edge while you're scraping this about. Now, don't quit stirring. This is, if you quit stirring, you're going to get lumps. Alright? So while you're doing this, oh crap, I forgot to grab my milk. Grab your milk. Alright, thank you, Pager. Now, slowly put some milk in there. Some people like to do it at room temperature. It doesn't really freaking matter, but see how it starts thickening up? It's like a big ooey and gooey mess. But as long as you continue to stir.
So, to me, since I know it's going to thicken more, well, it's about right. If you want to ask on a technical term, I'm thinking I'm using about 2 to 3 cups of milk. But I'm slowly, 2 to 3 cups of milk. And if it seems like it's not, if it's too thick, then you add more milk. Too thick, you add more milk. And if it's not thick enough, then the longer you cook it, the thicker it's going to get, because the flour basically is the base and it thickens it up.
It prefers. I'm going to probably put about, I'd say that looks like about a teaspoon and a half to 2 teaspoons of flour. And I'm just going to shake and put a pinch of salt, but I'm not going to put too much salt in there because see, the longer this is sitting here, look at how thick that is. And see how you can see the chicken pieces on there? Now that's getting pretty good and thick. And that's almost done, so I'm going to set that on low. This is cooking. We're going to check up on our chicken really quick. That's looking nice.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and get my, oops, stop. So I'm going to cook this for about 10 minutes. This is our corn, and what we're going to do is we have this on low, and gravy should be paste, but it should be thicker than soup. So I just wanted to, because of us tasting it, it's just way too thick, so I'm just adding a little bit more milk. And now you can grate it in. I'm not worried about the thickness, I'm more worried about the taste there.
Okay, no idea if this is hitting my face or not, but this is the taste test. Hi, I'm Paige. I'm filming this this here old video. Mike? That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect.
So therefore, then once it's where you want to, just turn it down and put it on a low or a simmer. Because it doesn't matter, your chicken is still cooking. It does not matter on that. And your potatoes are still boiling. And again, our corn still got 6 minutes. Until then, we're going to take a little as you can if you time it perfectly. Alright, so add a little bit of a break. Okay, so the timer on the corn went off. I just checked it, stirred it, so I'm just going to keep it in the microwave, no big deal.
So this has been about 10 minutes.
It's been about 10 minutes, yes. The gravy is nice and thick. We're just going to keep it on low. It's passed the taste test. We're good. Just keep it on low. That's no big deal. But the potatoes, from what I know, they're done already. So as you can tell, see how I'm poking the potatoes? They're falling apart. So that's how you know when they're done. They're starting to fall apart easily. Easy peasy. Really good. I'm fixing them in a pan that I know that won't ruin the pan when I start mixing it together. Because if you have a Teflon pan and you go ahead and use the mixer, it will ruin your Teflon pan. So go with something with stainless steel pan on it. So I am going to go ahead and we are going to take one of the strainers. And since my kitchen is a mess, I'm going to go ahead and drain this out. Now, some people will go ahead, oh, that was hot. Some people will go ahead and rinse them off, but you don't want to rinse it off because you want some of the water in there because it will act like a pasta base, whereas some of the water that mixes in with it will use as a thickener as well. So I'm just going to put it right back in the pan, put it in my messy dishes allotment, and I will put it down. At this time, you know you're going to need some sort of mix. Right now, because my other mixer broke down, I'm using this lovely 1950 to 60 blender, which is mine. Now, again, since our family loves butter,
and everybody's gonna say, "Oh my God, Becky, don't use that much butter." We like to leave butter, so you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put a whole half stick of butter in this damn oven because I can, and that's what I do.
And then again, you add the salt and pepper that you like. We are a pepper family. I'm gonna kind of drizzle this in some pepper, and then I'm gonna drizzle it in some salt. What's that click? They go bam, 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 bam.
Oh,
bam, Emerald. You know what? The good thing about taters, you can put a lot of things in there. You can put some stuff. Bacon in there, whatever you want. That looks good to me. Now I'm going to go ahead and get the beater out. Oops, shut off would be a good thing. There we go. And my grandma used to say the meat. So if you look really closely, you can see this little sprig sitting up, and that would be the meat of the potato. And that's what my grandma would say it was done. You see a little bit of meat on the batter, you know it's done. So if your taters are done and your gravy is done, I'm going to show you a little hint. Have your taters on the side. Put your gravy on the top because it's going to keep the warmth of the gravy. Then find yourself a lid that you know is going to go over the gravy. Make yourself a little tower and you're good to go. Easy peasy. Just keep it warmer. That heat is going to continue and it's going to make sure it's not cold. So, until then, what I'm going to do is while I'm waiting for it for another 5 or 10 minutes, we're going to clean up this joint just a little bit, and we're going to start plating up our food. We'll be right back at you in a minute. Alright, it's been a long time. It's like 8:08. Sorry it's taking so long. Usually it takes about an hour to an hour and a half for actually this whole cooking segment, but because we're trying to videotape, we're doing a lot of cuts. And
we're doing computer work and everything else, and I just drop it around. It doesn't matter. So, the chick, service, bloopers!
The chicken should be nice and ready as it steams. So we're going to go ahead. So this one, the one that we cut in before, as you said, the blood vein is almost completely gone. There's no, so we're going to go over here to the next one just to make sure. Just, I don't know if I can cut into it correctly. I'm cutting into it. And as you can see, you have juices and it's nice and tender. So therefore, the chicken is ready. potatoes. We do them ourselves. And that, my friend, is how we do an awesome fried chicken and gravy, homemade, Angie style. Now, it may not look pretty because we all have messy kitchens, but that's the way that we live.
Subscribe now to Channel A for Angela.
Ciao. See you on the flip side, people.